Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'm discussing my thoughts on episode 3 of the anime series Fune wo Amu, or the Great Passage, and talk about an embarrassing scenario for Majime, but one that was highly identifiable, I have to say, especially for someone like me who has dealt with anxiety and things of that nature, especially where it pertains to interacting with the fairer sex, the females, the ladies. I could completely and utterly relate to his plight of just being entirely incapable of really speaking and carrying on a conversation, if talking at all. With Kaguya, the granddaughter of the old lady that he is rooming with, she's in town. She's been asked to stay by her grandmother because she is an aspiring Japanese chef, and her work wanted her to get started as early as possible. And she's working at this eatery called Apricot, and it's fairly interesting. I mean, this is really going along the lines of where I thought it would go as far as the dynamic going on between Majime and Nishioka, especially because Nishioka is the more outspoken, more outgoing cat. He really doesn't have reservations. He pretty much speaks his mind and sometimes puts his foot in his mouth as a result. But Majime is going to definitely be looking to him to try to parse through these anxieties that he has, this incapability that he has of utilizing words and really putting his thoughts and feelings into words, into a dialogue. And I find it absolutely fascinating, the contrast there, because he's putting a dictionary together. This is exactly like his forte, the idea of understanding the meanings of words, of language, and all this kind of stuff. And yet, this is the one most chief area he is dead-legged in his daily life. And to have, Nishioka basically call him out to his co-workers, hey, Majime is a virgin, It's one of those things that goes back to middle school where I first encountered people being judgmental for whether or not you were a virgin or whether or not you did this or that or, whatever it is to be popular. Were you cutting class? Were you smoking cigarettes? All this kind of stuff. Going to school expecting that you have to be a certain way, It's very much getting away from being oneself, trying to be comfortable with oneself. And I always hated and disdained that. I always hated that judgmentalism and bullying and things of that sort, peer pressure, everything like that, I always traveled to the beat of my own drum. I never really listened to people around me. I did what I wanted, and that was it. Take it or leave it. You either like it or you don't. You're either friends with me or you're not. I really couldn't care less. Of course, there were times I had my heart stomped on by crushes. There were times where they were more welcoming and more friendly. There were times when I had people go behind my back and this, that, and the other thing. These are all the tried and true tropes of growing up, of maturing and living life. And Majime has been very much enclosed, even more so than I was at, a younger age. I mean, he is a full-on adult here, and he's still very much enclosed. He's still very much repressed. And there's a level of repression that we're going to see along the course of this journey for Majime that he is going to have to sort of get himself out of. But not for, the peer pressure that surrounds him. It's got to be something he chooses of his own accord. And by the end of this episode, I was very happy to see that his burgeoning that idea to Nishioka. How are you able to so easily communicate with others? How are you so approachable to women? How are you kind of the life of the party? How are you this way? How can I make myself this way? Because it's something I strongly desire. He does have seemingly a crush on Kaguya. And there's a level of when everyone goes to her eatery, her restaurant, to meet her and sort of see who it is that Majime is so taken by, everything like that. There is some thought, some sentiment to the idea that, hey, with the way she looks at her employment, with the way she's looking at this career, that it's not something she can do overnight, that it's going to be something that has to be done over time, learned and everything like that. It's not sort of an instant thing. There has to be an apprenticeship involved. She is someone really well suited for that personality trait to someone like Majime, who is very much slower the course, somebody who takes his time but still wants to develop himself. And that's always how I've been. I've much been more old school, taking my time and, again, doing things the way I want, how I want, and, that kind of thing. Take it or leave it. Take me or leave me. And I like in that we're seeing that he is not somebody to give up on. He's not someone to give up on himself. He still has the hope and holds the hope of bettering himself, of applying himself, and he's going to seek Nishioka's help. And what's really even that much cooler is, throughout the course of the episode, do we see Majime is going word searching effectively. He's consumed with the idea of precocious, what that means, and why we call boys precocious, but, girls another thing, and how that all equates, all this kind of stuff. Again, the language being the great garnish to the overall story, but he enlists Nishioka in his search, in his qualm, in trying to equate for himself how it all aligns. And by the end of the episode, after everything is said and done, Nishioka is basically saying to himself, you know what, that was actually funner than I would have thought. I actually enjoyed my time doing that with him. Because Majime to Nishioka is a very interesting individual. They're both, finding each other very interesting. And it's kind of a just great contrast of pairing, that one is so outspoken, one is so soft-spoken, one is very sort of free rein, the other is very reserved, and it's kind of like an odd couple thing, but with not so much adversarial quality to it, thankfully, even though, again, Nishioka calls him out for being a virgin in front of everybody, like it frickin' matters. It really doesn't. I like that. Again, Majime is basically the kind of guy, he's on this upward swing. He knows what he's got to do, and he wants to apply himself to reach those heights. He's setting these goals for himself, enjoying his work, doing it expertly. I mean, he had a whole box of words that he had already done by the time, we catch up with him in this episode. And they're basically showing it off, during this meeting that they're having. And so, yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.